Hi everyone. Well, some news. I would say some good news. But before I give any details, I kind of have to go not quite full disclosure with you, but I do have to give some of my background before you know I talk about the good news, so that you understand why these are good news. Um, all right. So I'll give you a few details from my life. Um, Around 13 years old, I started showing signs of insomnia. And also, although at the time I was not aware of it, I did not really understand the implications, but I started showing some serious signs of depression. I would cry myself to sleep for days, for weeks, for months. That's not normal. But the way I had been brought up, you had to be a man, fuck your feelings, and show a strong front to the rest of the world. So I carried that with me for a while, and uh, at 20 years old, I got mononucleosis, mono, if you prefer. If you're not familiar with the disease, it's basically extreme, and I do mean extreme, fatigue, where even just focusing on something will take a tremendous amount of energy. And, when it's really bad, you can just lose consciousness if you exert yourself in any manner. When it happened, I was starting university, and I remember that it was during the exam period. And even though I should have been resting, it was the end of the semester, so I wanted to start university the right way. So I focused on the exams, and I went to them, and I passed them with flying colors. However, I nearly lost consciousness twice during the exams. So yeah, it was not the right decision, but I did it. So be it. That was also around the time when I had just left my first girlfriend. Uh, let's just say that I had put myself in a situation where I was bound to fall sick at some point. I was burning the candle from both ends. I was working full time at a video rental store. I was studying full time, and my girlfriend was taking all of my free time, and I mean all of it. I didn't have any time to relax or spend with my friends, so it was bound to happen. Anyway, we turn the page. 26 years old. I had been teaching for a while, and that's when I pretty much my body and my mind just gave up on me, and I was diagnosed later on with chronic depression. But at the time, I didn't really know what was going on. I figured, I just needed some great change in my life. So I decided to stop teaching at that point, and I had an opportunity to work in the United States. So I decided to take it. However, I was right in the middle of depression, so not in a mindset of starting a new life. I definitely shouldn't have done that. But hey, you make mistakes, you learn from them. So, I was diagnosed then, and that's when I started taking medication. And afterwards, uh, the situation was not getting better for me because, well, it was chronic depression. Um, so I started. Um, I nearly became a hermit. Uh, I I avoided people as much as possible. On the internet, different, but once again, it's not quite the same. You know, interacting with people in real life and on the internet, quite different. So that was not healthy as well. And so I distanced myself from people for many, many years, etc., etc., etc. So during that time, I've been trying to get back to work, which has proven very difficult. Uh, as far as energy goes, I have none. None. I wake up in the morning more tired than when I was when I go to bed. So, of course, I tried to convince the doctors to reevaluate my situation because in the last few years I started having panic attacks. So, yeah, it was not going well. And one of the problems in the psychological field is that when someone gives a is my brain has stopped working for a second. So yeah, when a doctor says, well, for example, you have schizophrenia, not my case, but for example, or you're bipolar, stuff like that. It's very difficult to have that uh, that changed by someone else because they don't really like to. Imagine if one psychiatrist decided that this psychiatrist's work was not good. Okay, you said that this guy had was bipolar, but instead he's schizophrenic. So of course he's not getting the right treatment, etc., etc. If they did that, then it would open the door for their own work to be scrutinized. So that's why it's sort of like a circle jerk. Uh, so yeah, I was not able to get my case reevaluated, and my new doctor was thinking about giving me different kind of medication, but since my father had showed signs of sleep apnea, but died before we were able to have him pass the test, I figured, well, why not? Why not? So I asked my doctor to give me a prescription to pass the test. So, sure, I don't see any reason not to give you one. So I was put on a waiting list and waited for 6 months. Finally, they called me, and I went there. They just strapped some recording equipment and stuff on my sternum, and then sent me back home to sleep. And so the next morning, I brought back the equipment, and I had an appointment 1 month later. So that 1 month later was exactly 18 days ago, and I went to an appointment. But before I tell what happened during the appointment, I'll talk about the visit. Oh boy, oh god, I didn't notice that. Sorry, just give me a second there. There, slightly better. And as usual, no editing because I'm lazy. So, yeah. Right after the appointment, I had a room that I wanted to visit because I was still looking for a place to live in July. And I went to a place. It was really nice. For once, the room was that had no furniture in it, so I could at least bring what I had in my room. So that meant having far less stuff to sell before I left this apartment. So yeah, I signed the lease and everything. So that was great news. So what happened at that uh, doctor's appointment? Well, the doctor told me that not only do I have sleep apnea, but it's a pretty bad case. Uh, However, sleep apnea is not too hard to treat. So once you know where the problem is, you can treat the problem. So here are some of the symptoms that sleep apnea can cause. Loss of memory. For the last 7 years, I've been losing my memory like crazy, which has made teaching even more difficult and even scary because my intellect was my strong point. So losing my memory was the opposite of comforting. So yeah, that's one symptom. And um, the treatment for that can and will reverse the memory issues within 3 to 12 months, depending on the person. So that's extremely good news for me. Second of all, another symptom of sleep apnea is insomnia. As I've mentioned, I've been having insomnia since I was 13. So we're talking about over 30 years of insomnia. That could be, that could change quite a bit with the treatment. Could even disappear. I don't know. So this is one part where it's a possible improvement, but we don't know how much or if any improvement will show. Another symptom of sleep apnea, depression. Interesting. It is technically possible that my depression is directly related to sleep apnea. So the treatment might affect my depression. And if it affects it, just how big will the difference be? I don't know, once again. So, last week, I asked for some help from the government because the treatment is costly. But this is one area where the government could help me, and they did help me. So, in exactly 2 days, I'm getting the object. In French, it's CPAP. I don't know what it is called in English, but yeah, it's basically you wear a mask when you go to bed, and it pumps oxygen through when it detects that you're having some issues breathing. So it's something I'm gonna have to use for the rest of my life, but I don't care about that. I mean, I'm looking at the benefits of this. Getting my memory back would, not would be, but will be awesome. The fact that I'll be able to, well, I'll be able to sleep more soundly means I will wake up in the morning with more energy. How much more? I don't know. But I'm really excited to discover just how much it's going to improve my quality of life. And that could affect everything else in my life. Just having more energy means, hey, and the memory issues, let's go back to teaching full time. That's something I'm completely comfortable in doing because I still love teaching. Even when I was doing it on voluntary is. As you can see, my memory is shot. I have trouble finishing my sentences. That was not an issue 7 years ago. So yeah, going back to teaching would be awesome. I really love it. So on a voluntary basis, that's what I wanted to say. So yeah, and that means finally able to earn a living wage once more. You know, a lot of people think that people who are on welfare don't want to work. But and I'm sure there are some examples of that. Thankfully I have never met any of those. And in my case, I like working when I like the job, obviously. But yeah, teaching is something I really enjoyed. It's just that the body couldn't take it anymore, and the mind just followed. So if I can get back there, that will be awesome. I will not stop writing as well, because I would love even more to earn a living writing. So we'll see what happens in that respect. So yeah, um, so my memory will get better. I will have more energy, and I might even get out of depression and no longer require medication. But I don't want to be too optimistic, because hey, if that doesn't happen, then you're disappointed. But no, 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 no. I'm I'm basically on a brand new road, and I don't quite know where it's going, but I know it's somewhere nice. So this is extremely encouraging. So even though there's a part of uncertainty in this situation, overall it's nothing but good news. Uh, of course, financially I'm in trouble, but once I move in July, I'm going to pay far less, so that should help me get back on my feet. So I'm not too worried about that. Anyway, these are news, and I guess that you might have learned a few more things than you wanted about me. But hey, if you stuck until the end of the video, kudos to you. Uh, I doubt many people will watch this, but hey, just in case you were interested. So anyway, that's it for now. Uh, my next video will likely be after I move, and we'll see what happens. Enjoy yourselves, and have yourselves a nice day.